Okay. And my team, as folks are entering in, just admit them in. Okay. All right. So next slide. So my name is Bianca Davis. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am the RFX lead for this particular RFP. And I am the Resilient Communities team lead as well.
Hi, my name is Jamie English, she, her. I am a program manager with the Resilient Communities team and with Bianca and Nafiso and Dino.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nafiso Igal, she, her pronouns, and I'm a team member on the Resilient Communities team here to support Jamie and Bianca.
Okay.
Hi,
So,
everyone.
go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dino Sieve. I'm a program manager on the Resilient Communities team here to support Bianca and Jamie as well.
Awesome. And as mentioned before, in the chat, introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, and what organization you represent. Okay, first slide. Next slide, rather. So our agenda for today will consist of what is the the Veterans, Seniors, and Human Services Levy, overview of the HL10 Countywide Gender-Based Violence Strategy, overview of the HL10 Countywide Gender-Based Violence RFP, grant assistance, Zoom grants, and how to apply, and then we're going to end with question and answers. Okay, next slide. So, Veterans, Seniors, and Human Services Levy, VSHSL. The VSHSL is a critical funding source that supports services to improve overall health and well-being of priority populations, create thriving communities, and reduce disparities throughout King County. The VSHSL funds a wide range of programs that connect veterans, military service members, and their respective families, as well as individuals and families in need with affordable housing, employment, behavioral health treatment, and other services and resources to sustain a happy and healthy life. The VSHSL is a voter-approved 6-year property tax levy. Over the years, the VSHSL has been able to provide adaptability and support for those who may not otherwise be able to access services. This levy pursues 5 overarching result areas: housing stability, healthy living, financial stability, social engagement, and service system access and improvement. The levy funds are allocated across the levy's 3 priority populations, which is veterans, military service members and their respective families, seniors and their caregivers, and resilient communities. The Regional Impact Initiative category receives 10% of levy proceeds and includes new approaches and perspectives to perennial issues, respond to emerging needs, and modify existing structures to enable the region to better address the diverse and broad-scale human services needs of the region. These investments across levy populations include stabilizing the nonprofit human services workforce, preventing or responding to gun violence, supporting affordable housing and shelter, technical assistance and capacity building, levy provider training, and language supports. Next slide. And here are just a few quick facts. 10 cents per $1,000 of assessed value, 551.3 million over 6 years. And let's see. So the levy, not yet. Go back. Yes. So the levy is expected to generate approximately 551.3 million in revenue between 2024 and 2029. According to the King County Office of Economic and Financial Analysis, August 2023 forecast. So 30% will go towards veterans, military services, and their respective families. Another 30% will go towards seniors and their caregivers. Another 30% will go towards resilient communities. And as mentioned, 10% will go towards regional impact initiatives that are with 10% of the amount for regional impact initiatives to be used for technical assistance and capacity building. Okay, next slide. So the VSHSL offers connection and community and connecting providers. A second. So connecting providers, connecting programs, and connecting people. Next slide. So equity and social justice is extremely important here at King County. Our overarching goal is to ensure that all people, regardless of who they are and where they are, have the opportunity to thrive with full and equal access to opportunities, power, and resources. Next slide. Okay. So the overview of the strategy. The HL10 countywide gender-based violence and trafficking prevention strategy will fund community-based entities to develop and implement programming and initiatives designed to prevent all forms of gender-based violence and human trafficking, including but not limited to domestic violence, sexual assault, and commercial sexual exploitation. Funded entities must demonstrate that their programs will address the root causes of domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking in the context that is relevant, effective, and meaningful for program participants. Also, funded entities must demonstrate an approach to prevention that understands how racism intersects with sexism and other forms of oppression. Providers must demonstrate that their program will provide information and services that are linguistically and culturally appropriate and low barrier. Next slide. So, as mentioned before, this RFP seeks programs throughout King County to develop and implement in-depth, multi-level coordinated prevention and community engagement strategies tailored to geographically and culturally diverse communities across King County. So prevention program activities may include, and this is the scope of work section, and the prevention programs activities may include preparation of community members to prevent and intervene in interpersonal forms of violence. A few examples of this would be community-based crisis response models for de-escalation, conflict resolution, and wellness checks, peer-led, culturally based or community-based networks, resource hub or support for transformative justice efforts, i.e. community accountability team building and protocols. Another scope of work would be cultural or collective healing programs, and some examples would be community healing spaces that incorporates a holistic approach to address trauma, intergenerational gathering programs that incorporate passing on ancestral knowledge and culture practices. And this may look like both community healing spaces and intergenerational gathering programs that are traditionally practiced by those who are members of the BIPOC or immigrant communities. Culturally and linguistic trauma-informed care models are also a part of this particular scope of work. Community building programs designed to strengthen ties and responsive care networks, such as solidarity projects as a form of relationship building, family and parenting programs to support violence prevention, neighborhood or block-based trust building and mutual aid networks, and also policy leadership to eliminate structural barriers to community-led violence prevention, including alternatives to law enforcement responses to domestic and sexual violence, such as a participatory community assessment and research intended to identify and prioritize policy opportunities for violence prevention based on the perspective of people who are most impacted. And last but not least, the broad-based public education efforts that aim to undermine social conditions in which domestic and sexual violence are minimized or reinforced. And this may look like, as a few examples, narratives and storytelling projects, media campaigns, public events and forums aimed at engaging more people committed to ending domestic violence, human trafficking, and sexual violence. Also, as a part of this RFP as well, and a scope of work may include utilizing flexible funds to support access to basic needs for program participants. Access to flexible funds should not be structured in the form of incentives or rewards for program participation, but instead is to support the access to basic needs for program participants. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to now get into outcomes. So this strategy seeks to support programs to create the social, economic, and political conditions to support loving, equitable relationships in communities free from violence and abuse. Outcomes may include the number of or description of how community members are engaged in program planning activities, and or the number of participants who increase their ability to prevent and or intervene in interpersonal forms of violence. So our focus population for this particular RFP is the focus population for this RFP are adults experiencing domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking, with a focus on those disproportionately impacted, such as BIPOC and immigrant communities. Data from 2020 and 2021 show that the VSHSL mobile advocacy programs served a high portion of survivors who are BIPOC, reflecting the communities that are disproportionately impacted by domestic violence. Specifically, 85% of the people who were served during that time period were BIPOC. Funding will be prioritized for, but not limited to, organizations who have established history of centering one or more of these populations and who outline a clear plan of how the voices and experiences of these groups are actively informing their proposed program model or are building their capacity to do so. Okay.
Thanks, Bianca. So here I'm going to talk a little bit about the funding, the dollars. There is up to $5,457,508 will be awarded for the full program period of October 2024 through December 2027. The amount allocated to each program will depend on the number of successful applicants. It is important to note that the first contract period will likely be a short one. It will likely be October 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, in which $933,124 is the estimated amount available. This amount could change and total amounts could change. They may be amended as extended contracts expire. Budgets submitted should accurately reflect the annual cost to run programs as well as the initial startup year. Next slide. This funding is open to all agencies throughout King County, and small organizations that serve marginalized communities are encouraged to apply. The minimum eligibility qualifications are a minimum of 1 year of work dedicated to addressing domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking, as well as the timely submission of a complete application. The evaluation. King County will work with funded programs to develop an evaluation plan during the contracted periods. Data collection and reporting. Client level data should be collected continuously and will likely be reported to the county on a quarterly basis. Narrative reports will be due twice per year. Billing will be monthly, and the amount will be determined with the creation of a pre-contracted payment plan for each individual organizations that is contracted. So the RFP timeline, today is the info session. We're here for that. May 28th will be the final day to request technical assistance, which I'll go a little bit more into that in a bit. June 4th is the final day to submit any questions. There will be an FAQ section of the Zoom grants part of the RFP where the RFP is held. So questions can be submitted. We will be showing the questions that are asked here during the info session, as well as emailed questions. Those will all be public in the FAQ section. And the actual applications, the full applications, are due June 11th at 2 p.m. Notifications of award decisions will happen in July. Anticipated contract start date is October of 2024. Completed submissions, including all attachments, are due by 2 p.m. on June 11th. That's just a really important date that we want all of you to leave this info session with it in your minds. Templates are located in the RFP attachments in Zoom grants. So when you go into Zoom grants, you will see attachments. You can click on them and you will see the templates in which you will fill out to apply. You will need to completely respond to summary questions, narrative questions, and submit your budget in that Zoom grant or in Zoom grants. So here is a detail which you will also find in the RFP itself. This is the detail of the rating criteria. There is I won't be reading these slides word for word. I'm just going to give an overview because, like I said, you can read all the details within the RFP itself. There is a total of 100 points available with a possible additional 10 points if interviews are needed later. Details of the rating criteria, as I said, are within the RFP and you can read those. Review panels can consist of King County staff, internal subject matter experts, evaluators, members of the Veterans, Seniors, and Human Services Levy Advisory Board, and the Women's Advisory Board, community members, individuals with past or current lived experience, and members or designees of the King County Council who will serve as non-voting members. The review panel will be reviewing and scoring applications in June. And as I said before, the award notifications will be made in July. So support for completing applications is available to small organizations with fewer than 20 FTE and operating budgets of less than $4 million. These requests for grant assistance or help with completing this grant application must be requested by May 28th. Information is available within attachment E of the RFP, where you can get more details about that. Okay, so Zoom grants. RFP material and submissions will be available in Zoom grants. As I said before, all questions from today and any submitted in writing will be posted to the FAQ section in Zoom grants, as well as any updates to this RFP process. So I think it's important to note, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat. We will be taking notes on this meeting, and this meeting is recorded. This meeting will also be uploaded to the Zoom grants. But if you have any questions, Bianca's email is available. It's posted with the RFP, and you can email your questions there, and those will be uploaded to the FAQ. So does anyone have any questions for us at this time?
And right before we go into the Q&A, Dino, you can stop sharing your screen. I'll share mine real quick just to show you the overlay of Zoom grants.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, let me know if when you all are able to see it. Good. Okay. So here is the actual RFP uploaded to Zoom grants. And just to give you a preview, 1 second. You'll see here, it has the overview, the timeline, and also other information regarding the RFP. The requirements is also uploaded. And then you'll have various different attachments that will need to be attached to this particular RFP, such as a budget, the narrative questions, summary questions. Let's see. And there are also information regarding as in the summary questions that talks about where you're planning to serve particular clients. So that's very important to make sure that you click on the appropriate zip codes of where you're planning to serve various different clients. Let me see. I'm not logged into my personal one because it's an actual dashboard, and I don't want to reveal, anybody who may have already uploaded their information already. So I'm just going through a generic form of it. So you'll see some of the questions here, and you just make sure that you go throughout this particular portion of Zoom grants, make sure everything is filled out and filled out correctly. It goes into, let's see, some of the organizational background and experiences, program model, equity and social justice, budget and fiscal, data collection, and then there are a couple of appendices that that will be associated with this particular RFP as well that needs to be uploaded or answered. Let's see. And space for budget, budget narrative, and then document request, such as proposed budget narrative questions, summary questions. If you think that it will be beneficial to attach, even though it says budget narrative is optional, if you feel a need to go into further deeper explanation about the budget narrative, and you feel that that's the most appropriate way to do so, then definitely take that that initiative to do that. All right, so let me stop sharing. That is the Zoom grants are for the RFP that's uploaded into Zoom grants for HL10. So now we can go into the question and answer portion. And this, I'm so used to working with teams. Is there a hand raising button on this one? Let's
There are
see.
3 questions in the
Okay.
chat right now. I can ask
Awesome.
them as they came in. So
Okay.
Asaya Herrero asked, if an organization has received funding from this opportunity in the past and was given the most recent 1-year extension of funding, should we be applying to this RFP in order to be eligible for funding up to 2027, or would that be a separate re-RFP process?
I'm sorry, say that one more time because you sound a little low and this might be my headphones.
If an organization has received funding from this opportunity in the past and was given the most recent 1-year extension of funding, should we be applying to this RFP in order to be eligible for funding up to 2027? Or would that be a separate RFP process?
Very good question. Awesome question. Yes, definitely apply to this RFP. Those who were extended, your contract has been extended until the end of the year. However, if you are awarded during this RFP process, that particular contract, that your amendment will cease, and then your new contract will begin.
Okay, and question number 2. George Gonzalez has asked, would you consider a program that develops sexual assault prevention education training curriculum for adults?
I would say submit it, and we will see what the panel votes on.
Okay, and Bella Lomax has asked, are graphs allowed to be submitted?
Say that one more time.
Are graphs allowed to be submitted?
If it's compatible to Zoom grants, I see why not. But I would see if it's even if you even are able to do it in Zoom grants. I don't see why not, but let me check back with that particular question, and I will make sure that that's uploaded to the FAQ.
Okay, and we have one more question. Laura has asked, we provide trauma-informed arts engagement and community building for GBV in a separate cohort program. We've been serving DV survivors for many years with several different social services partners, but this will be a new cohort. I'm wondering if we'd be eligible to apply for the cultural or collective healing programs for this funding.
So I will steer away from giving exact advice for your particular programs. I would say definitely read the RFP. If you think that aligns with the RFP, then I would still apply. You never know what the particular panelists who will be voting on your RFPs will which direction they will decide to go in. So I would just say read the RFP very carefully, and see if what you do and how your organization's scope of work, what it consists of, aligns with what is in the RFP.
Okay, let's see where we at here. There's another one. The last bullet point talks about flex funds. How are you all thinking of that as distinct from mobile advocacy intervention funds, strategy SS4? Especially because there's additional language that says not to use funds for incentives participation. Does this mean that flex funds can't be used to pay folks to encourage participation in participatory research? What did I leave off on? In participatory research or focus groups or other types of community engagements?
I would table
that was a really long question. I'm so sorry.
All good.
I would table that, and I will answer that as much as we can in the FAQ, because we have not even began to even touch the SS4, which is the mobile advocacy. It's coming soon. It's coming soon, but I don't want to touch it until we kind of flesh some things out.
And I think I just I left that up because it was the very last bullet point in that scope of work, and it it made me think of something that would show up in that strategy and not necessarily in this one, because so I was just curious about the thinking behind that.
Okay, and the FAQ it's a working document, so it's going to be updated regularly. So as my team and I, the ones who you see here, are also working on SS4, which is the mobile advocacy RFP. As we decide what direction we want to go in with that, we'll update some things.
Awesome. Thanks, Bianca.
You're welcome.
Okay, Hillary Balker, hope I'm saying that correctly, from New Beginnings has asked, would you consider a program inclusive of hybrid preventions advocacy positions?
I would say again, when it comes to particular programs, submit it if you think it aligns with the RFP, and then we'll let the panelists decide if it's something that they want to fund.
Okay, and let's see here. George Gonzalez wanted to check to see if this funding is only for the adult populations.
Yes, adult 18 and older.
And the last question that I see here, how do you define community-based crisis response models?
Wait, said it again?
How do you define community-based crisis response models?
We will table that and we will put that full answer because it's in the RFP. Languaging around that is in the RFP, and we'll table that and we'll put that into the FAQ.
And that is it for the questions in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions?
I just wanted to say, my name is Emil Pattison. I'm one of the multiple amazing technical assistants and general support, application support providers working on this RFP, and just wanted to highly encourage folks to reach out for support navigating the application with me or one of the other people on the list. Everyone is really fantastic and really happy to work with y'all.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Looks like Laura.
I just wanted to ask, is that technical support available to anyone who wants to apply, or only certain organizations or certain, I don't know. Are there any parameters, I guess?
Good question. I believe in the RFP, it states who is eligible for RFP, technical support. And I believe it's a list of requirements that will make you eligible for that. So it is listed in the RFP, and we will make sure that that particular question is answered in the FAQ, but it is in the RFP.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. My name is Dr. Lahab. I'm from the IFC. I was wondering if we have applied for a grant through the VSHS. Can we apply for this grant, or is that not okay?
You could apply for whatever you feel aligns with your organization's mission.
Yeah, so okay.
So if you are already receiving funds, say that you're receiving funds from, I'm just making up something, senior centers funding, and you have a program within your organization that you feel aligns with the gender-based violence spectrum, then you are able to apply if you feel like it aligns with what's in the RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a risky question, Bianca.
Yes.
I think the answer is no, but I would be very upset with myself if I didn't at least ask and get a confirmed no. If my program serves ages 8 to 21 and we focus a lot of our work with community partners and parents who are 18 and up, does that disqualify this program from applying for this grant? Yes or no?
It depends on what's the languaging in your actual application. I do want to stress, where this particular funding is from Adult Services Division. So our main focus will be 18 and up.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You can also, again, email me with your questions if you don't have any questions right now, but something winds up, it's a burning question that you just really want to ask, but you either don't want to ask it in this space, or it's a situation where you think of it later. You can always email me as well. Chelsea?
I have a question. So if our clients are adults, but the person experiencing gender-based violence is a transgender child, so the client is the adult, but is not the victim or survivor of the gender-based violence, is that potentially covered under this? Or because the person experienced in the gender-based violence is not the adult, would it not be included?
I would really steer clear from anything that's youth-based. But what I will say is that there is languaging in the RFP that refers to families, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions? I don't know why it feels like Florence wants to say something. No, okay. All right. Well, I really thank you all for this time that we've had together. We will upload this to Zoom Grants. And if you have any other questions, again, Dino, you want to put my put the last slide up with my contact information?
Yes.
And you can email me. I will gather the questions and put that in an FAQ. So if I don't answer it, I'll respond to your question, but I will tell you that this is something I will definitely put in the FAQ. That way everybody is aware of our on equal playing field when it comes to knowing the answers to certain questions. So send me your questions. Don't hesitate to do so. And my team and I thank you all for attending this info session, and we look forward to your applications coming in and reading many of them, and our panelists. It will go to our panelists. Just to let you all know, my team won't be a part of the panel, but we do have a group of folks who are panelists and who will be reading your RFPs, and I just wish you all good luck. Good luck in your journey.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So now you have some time back, and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate you, Bianca.
You're welcome.